So, what we're going to talk to you about now is doing your research into existing media products which are similar to the product which you will be creating. Now, it's really important that this is done in the correct way because therefore you won't have to change it in future. The examiner needs to see this. It does get sent off as part of your coursework portfolio, so we need to make sure it's as professional as possible. So, make sure that you'll find the assignment in Mest 2. Task 1, it's assignment 2. And what you need to do is you need to research into similar media products to the ones that you've decided to create. So for whichever area of whichever brief you're working on, if you're working in broadcast for brief 1, then you're going to be looking at whatever TV you're going to be looking to research into the similar TV shows to what you've selected that you're going to make. If you're doing brief 3 and you're doing broadcast, you're going to be looking at promotional music videos. But it needs to be specific to what you have chosen to make. So for example, if you are choosing brief 1, don't start looking at news reports, because that would fall into brief 2. What you're going to do for this is as follows. Using this document here, which is research into text, I've given you sort of a writing frame which I'm going to talk to you about, and I've given you some examples of research which people have done previously which are A grades. I'm going to show you some of those in a second. The research into text look like this. If you're going to do brief 1, you're going to do the following. You're going to find either 3 opening sequences and opening scenes from whichever TV show you're working on, or you're going to find 3 viral marketing products for a TV show, or 3 radio features for a TV show. Okay? And then, if you're doing print as well, you're going to do 3 different advertising campaigns for new series on TV, or 2 different souvenir magazines features for a new film on TV. And then if you're doing e-media, you can do 3 fan websites, and you can annotate 3 pages for each, or 2 different e-media advertising campaigns for a TV show. And you're going to make sure you've got banner in there, official website pop-up, social networking, etc. If you choose brief 2, you're going to do 3 sports reports from a newspaper website. And remember, these are broadcast reports. Or you could get these sports reports from any other source like Sky Sports or something like that. You're going to do 3 articles from a newspaper that focuses on the sport that you've selected, and you do 3 different promotional emails. If you chose brief 3, then you're going to do 3 promotional videos of bands stroke DJs, 3 examples of each product you'll be making for print, so depending on what you picked, that's what you'll do, and 3 different band stroke DJ websites. You can annotate at least 3 pages. Okay, so in order to get the top marks, you need to answer the following questions. You need to describe the product in detail that you've selected. So what's the genre, the narrative, what is it about, what codes and conventions have been used. Describe the product's audience. Okay, so this needs to be specifically age, gender, demographics, psychographics, and you need to focus on the primary and secondary audiences. And you also need to include in here why they consume it. So the uses and gratifications of text, which we will have covered. You're going to describe why you selected the product. Then underneath here, you're going to describe individual elements of the product. So see the red sections below in here. Then after that, you're going to conclude the good and the bad points of the text. So the red sections, this is for each of the individual elements, so each of the individual platforms or the things that you've selected. Describe the scene, page or article. What is it about? What happens in it? Screen print the product, scene or article. Explain important elements of the page, scene or article in terms of titles, pictures, fonts, navigation, how stroke which representations are there, put that in green. How it appeals to the audience, so text, fonts, colours, images, sound, video, etc. Make sure that's in blue. And what you'd like to incorporate into your text from this, make sure you put that in red. Now the key elements that you need to focus on for this are below for each of the various platforms. So in e-media, make sure you talk about these. Broadcast, talk about this. print, talk about this. Now I'm just going to show you a couple of examples so you've got a good idea of what is expected of you to do. So let's just look at print research. Sorry for it to load up. These are examples from last year. So these are some of the... So this was for the lifestyles brief, which is last year, which has changed. So the girl that did this started off with the description of the product. Then she talked about the audience, who they are, why they selected it. And then a description of the page, basically, which was screen printed and put into the middle. And then text boxes around the outside, which explains all of the important elements. And also making sure she links in how it appeals to the audience, what she wanted to use throughout, what representations there are, and a conclusion at the end. So make sure you look at the examples. E-media was pretty similar, but for this they so description of the product, what it's about, what's on each page, what the website's divided up into, audience and characteristics, who is it for, why they selected it, and this is a screen print of the page, and again linking in how it appeals to the target audience and what they'd like to use. Now remember, for the website you need to do the 3 pages that you're focusing on. Remember, it's a minimum of 3 pages, so there may be 5, you can make more than that. And then broadcast. Looks something like this. Broadcast is a bit more tricky. You have to screen print the individual scenes or the individual things that you like. So description, product, audience and characteristics, why it was selected, and then descriptions of the sequences and what they liked. So what they did is they screen printed the various shots that they liked, and they talked about them in terms of why it's good, what they'd like to incorporate. And this is a lot more, you have to include a lot more screen prints for broadcast and a conclusion. So that's how I want you to lay that out. Now remember, the key things are, you talk about representation, you talk about the various elements of each platform using the correct terminology, which is in the Word document. You talk about the representations, how it appeals to the audience, and what you'd like to include. Remember, you must pick products of the same genre, so whichever element or whichever area that you're working in, and you must also pick at least 3 examples.